Take a seat. We got some shit to talk about.
This is not going to be a normal episode.
No.
For sure.
I'm fired up. I feel like we should not do the intro because this might just be a one-off weird podcast. Welcome back to Feast or Famine with the Youngs. We are the Youngs. We're not going to do a cute intro. We're just going to get into it.
I think I'm just going to probably sit here because Veronica is fired up today. Good.
Listen,
okay, hold on.
I don't even know where to freaking start with this.
This is off the rails already.
This is going to be a mess because I still fully cannot wrap my head around everything in regards to this topic. So, disclaimer, please be patient with me when I'm trying to form sentences. One, because when I'm like fired up about something, I tend to not articulate the best. So
can we, before we get into that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have a pretty, I guess, solid topic structure. Would you call it that? Like we touch on very specific types of topics, like mostly
for our podcast.
For like business ownership, and those kind of things. And we don't necessarily always fall into the wedding video thing.
We have a broad niche,
but which
I guess is redundant, but
that wouldn't be redundant. It'd be a
oxymoron.
Yeah, but it's not though.
Okay.
Our niche anyway. Sometimes we touch on bigger topics, but not like this.
Not like this.
So, if you don't want to listen to a podcast that is a broader niche, that's fine. However, I would ask you to at least listen and decide after you find out what we're talking about, because this is a very hot topic right now. We've had very, very many conversations at home about this topic because it's so mind-boggling, and we've had conversations with other people, other friends, other business in the same industry professionals with us, like in the wedding industry too. So this is a pretty broad scope.
Everybody in the world knows about Gypsy Rose.
So we're talking about Gypsy Rose today.
Everybody in the freaking world knows about Gypsy Rose. I don't even know how to start this. Okay, I guess let's start with just who she is real quick. Just give a quick rundown. I'm not gonna go into let me say this. If you don't know who Gypsy Rose is and you're listening to this podcast, please pause this podcast, come back, but pause this podcast, go do some research, read an article, watch a documentary, do something to figure out who she is, and then come back. Basically, Gypsy Rose is a 32-year-old woman who was just released from prison this year for being convicted to conspire to murder her mother. And the reason why she did that is because her mother was diagnosed with Munchausen's by proxy, which means that from a very early age...
Would her mother have been diagnosed, or she was diagnosed?
Oh, I guess she was diagnosed. Munchausen's by proxy. The proxy is her mother. Yeah. So, yes, she caused all of this. Yes. So her mother, from a very early age, had her treated for leukemia. I had her put a feeding tube in when she could eat, bound her to a wheelchair when she could walk.
So that she didn't think she could walk. She thought she was constantly sick. And it was just one of those things that she would use her daughter's ailments to
get money,
get
seen.
Get benefits.
Her mother clearly had, several types of mental illnesses that caused her to do this to Gypsy. It's absolutely horrific.
And this is her entire life.
Yeah.
And doctors were even I don't know how. I don't even want to know how. I'm not as well versed in this as you are. I just know the story. I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But doctors even would legit diagnose her with these things
just because of what her mother said. And it was just, they had all of her teeth pulled for literally no reason. Gypsy herself suffered a lot of physical and mental trauma in her life. And let me start out by saying that nobody should ever have to go through any of that.
Let's finish the whole facts of this case.
Okay.
So that happened her entire life. At some point.
Up to a certain point.
Up to I think she was a teenager.
Yeah, I don't remember the
Anyway,
exact age.
that was happening, and then at a certain point, she realized, Gypsy did, that she could walk. So she stood up. She was like, I didn't know I could walk. She could walk. So she tried to leave a couple times, and her mom would like chain her to the bed when she got her, or like tape her to her wheelchair so she couldn't leave, and she wouldn't feed her. And basically, it was like literal abuse and literally torture and imprisonment. So Gypsy ultimately was able to get a hold of a cell phone, get online. She found a boyfriend that she would meet up with.
She did escape multiple times. Ultimately, she was either found by her mother or she came back. So there's a lot of different things that I want to dive into and
we
mention.
Haven't even finished this yet.
I know. I'm just saying there's a lot of things that I want to dive into and mention when it comes to this situation, because I think we
need to finish the facts of the case first.
Hold on.
We're not even there yet.
I know. Just give me a second. If you don't know who we are as people, that's why I want to make everything that I'm saying very clear, because I don't want what I feel and how I feel about this to be misconstrued for who I am as a person. So I need to be very careful about how I convey this. But keep going with the facts.
Anyway, the rest of the facts were that she met this guy. I think it was like a year that this was.
Yeah.
Like she would meet with him. They'd have sex in the bathroom at a movie theater or something like that.
Yeah, they would like have Skype calls and whatever.
Anyway, so this guy had multiple personality disorder.
Multiple personality disorder.
And the shortest version of this is he agreed to take care of her mother. Was it that he said, I will kill your mother for you?
She asked him to.
She asked him to kill her mother.
She asked his personality to do it.
So
basically,
he said yes. When they made the plan, she locked herself away in a room. He came in and literally brutally murdered this woman. And then that's where we are. He was convicted.
They ran away, and then they were found by the police, and
she served 10 years, something like that, and
she was convicted for 10, served 8, and she got out because the judge agreed that she
wasn't in her right mind when it happened, or something like that.
Yeah,
something like that. Anyway, she got out. She served her time. Time served. The boyfriend at the time is serving life in prison. He will never get out. I don't think. Does Missouri have?
No, he won't ever. He's serving life.
And then fast forward to now, she has a new boyfriend. She's apparently engaged.
Yes.
And she's literally everywhere.
Instantly
everywhere.
Famous. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean, if you're on TikTok for 5 minutes, you're going to see something about her.
And there's behavior things that we want to talk about, and just general, just insight, and just from a distance, just kind of seeing everything play out.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. I have spent a significant amount of my high school education and a tiny little bit of my college education in psychology. And I'm not saying that makes me an expert, because it definitely does not. I don't have a degree. But I do, on a regular basis, do continue to research it and stuff like that. I always say if I wasn't a wedding photographer, I would be a criminal psychologist. So this is right up my alley. And again, I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm not saying I know it all. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying
observational.
That this is an observation from someone who does have a little bit of insight on this. And just as someone who can and will have an opinion on about regular ass things in general.
Would it be fair to say that, I mean, you didn't obviously grow up in a situation like that. Not even close.
No, not even close.
But you definitely had a rocky...
I definitely had trauma and abuse, mental and a little bit of physical abuse in my life growing up. So I feel with that sort of thing, you can't really compare. I'm not trying to compare myself to her. That would not be fair.
But isn't that where your interest in the psychological stuff started?
Yes, my interest in the psychology behind why people make the decisions that they do and why they turn out the way that they do is extremely intriguing to me. And part of that has a lot to do with your upbringing and the trauma that you have in your early childhood and suppressed memories and things like that. So all of that stuff is very intriguing to me. So with that being said, I think that the general masses are just intrigued in general by Gypsy Rose. And I believe...
I think that's just in general because in the U.S. specifically, we are obsessed with true crime.
Yeah.
Literally obsessed to the point where... This might be a biased thing, but because you watch constantly, like all the For You stuff is mostly just true crime. But there's a humongous subset of people, and it's just getting more and more and more about true crime.
I mean, there's like
and why things happen and
even like internet sleuths, like are a real thing. People who like investigate like in journalism and things like that. They take it upon themselves to like try to open up like cold cases. Yeah. There's like internet sleuths who do that. And some of them actually solve cases with like retired police officers or detectives or something like that.
And then they present it and they reopen the case and then it eventually gets, because obviously there's legal avenues you have to take.
Yeah. So let's start with just the media attention with things. So Gypsy started filming a documentary while she was in prison. And her fame...
I didn't know that.
Yes. Her fame started while she was in prison. Like her story, I mean, they have like the show called The Act that's on Hulu. If you haven't watched it and you're interested in this, I definitely recommend watching it. I also recommend watching the documentary.
The Act, though, is a show that is
it's actors play her.
It's a mostly true. I'm assuming that
it's a depiction of her story played out by actors.
So there could have been things that were dramatized for the show.
Probably, but that's why I also say watch the documentary.
Yeah.
And any interviews that you have with her, but. Anyway, her fame and her story started to become famous while she was in prison. I guess, obviously, I don't know how these things work out in prison. Like, I don't know how you get access to some, like, I don't understand that. But she was able to do it. I am assuming she has some sort of management that she works with. And she wanted
to... Were they in prison with her? Or were they just interviewing her from, like, behind the glass?
I'll be honest, I have not watched the documentary. I don't know if that gives me less of a right to say what I'm going to say or not, but more of a right. I don't know.
I think we're looking at it from the general public knowledge, not a internet sleuth obsessed with true crime, having dug into every single little tiny aspect of this case.
Yeah.
Because in general, most people will know the level of stuff that we know currently.
I need to watch it. I need to figure out if we have lifetime.
But that's not... I think what we're going to say here has nothing... Like, watching that stuff isn't going to change any of it, any of our thoughts.
No, I for sure won't. Because I've seen enough interviews with her without watching the documentary that I have a pretty good idea of... I feel pretty solid in my thoughts about it.
Okay.
Regardless of if I've seen the documentary or not.
We should probably preface it by saying what she went through is horrendous.
Yes.
No human being should ever, ever, ever have to go through something like that.
Yes.
She was obviously driven to the brink to do the things that she did. She has...
And let me pause there. I can't even imagine being in a situation like that and having to have a thought like that to kill my mother.
Absolutely.
It does make me emotional thinking about it because I have a bit of a rough I had a bit of a rough relationship with my mom. I've never thought to like kill her by any means.
But you never had it that bad either.
No, but like I can't imagine being in a situation where you feel like that is your only way out. That's crazy to me.
Right. And she has, whether it's authentic or not, she has shown remorse. She is not saying she didn't do it.
Right.
She's fully admitted to everything. She's
taking it. She's accepting,
She's accepted responsibility. She's served her time. She's out. She wants to move on with her life. That's, well.
I know.
That's where it gets.
Part of what we're talking about.
This is where it gets a little bit hairy.
Yes. So right now, what what I am observing from most people, from the masses, is that everyone is very intrigued by her, which is rightfully so. But they are also like, I need to like not be so sensitive about it. So most people are just like in the Gypsy side, like, go Gypsy, you're amazing, you're a hero, you're this, you're that, you're wonderful, blah,
Quote,
blah, blah.
Instant celebrity was a quote that somebody used on a podcast.
Celebrity.
Instant celebrity.
Well, it's not even just the one that I like, it's news stations who are calling her celebrity. Like, she
has, quote, risen to fame.
To the general world, Gypsy Rose is a celebrity. It's a fact. She is.
I think that's a shitty verbiage to use. Celebrity.
I mean, what else do you call it, though? What else do you call it?
Famous, rose to fame. Don't use celebrity. Celebrity
it's the same thing to me.
It is not. Because a celebrity is somebody that is typically put on a pedestal and people look up to them.
She is being.
This is where my issue comes in. So, like, Ted Bundy is famous. He is not a celebrity.
Okay, you're right. Yes. Okay, that's a good analogy. Yeah, you're right. Oh, same with like.
I mean, technically he's infamous, but he rose to fame because of the crap that he did.
Yeah.
But he is not a celebrity. She should not be listed as a, quote, celebrity, because celebrity insinuates in general that people look up to them in positive connotations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like we're yelling.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
Every time I see you scrolling, I hear her voice or I hear something about her, I'm just like, I understand that people want to hear their story. Mm-hmm. I understand that she has a life to live and that she should be, and just let her live her life. Let her like be her person and get on with her life after like serving her time and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Because she did serve her time. But this celebrity mindset,
it gives me major ick.
Yeah.
Major ick. And that is an unpopular opinion.
We might be canceled for this episode.
I really hope not.
Deuces.
Alex. I just have a very unpopular opinion about it. I think, and I made an Instagram story a while ago, very short. Yeah, but when this comes out, it would have been a while ago.
I might put this up next week.
It's hard for me to categorize all of my thoughts about it because I am pro freedom. I am pro doing what makes you happy. I am pro if you know how to make money and it's not hurting anybody else, make money the way you want to make money. And that part of it, I'll have to take this slow. That part of it, you know, she's making money from interviews and podcasts and doing all of these things, and she has probably management and TikTok. And I wouldn't be surprised if she starts pumping out sponsorships and things like that. And obviously she's going to make money from the documentary coming out. I think...
Pause.
No, let me...
Pause, hold on. Making money and doing all those things by telling your story because of the crap you grew up, like...
I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think she is owed that, technically, because her life was literally pulled away from her by her mother.
And to be quite frank, if it was me, I'd probably do the same thing.
Right. I mean, it's opportunistic.
It's why people write biographies and books about themselves.
Right.
Like, it only makes sense.
She's just jumping on the opportunity.
Right.
Because she was given a shit hand.
Right.
Growing up. Move on. Sorry, anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think that if she has, sorry, I know you hate when I move the mic. If she has the opportunity to make money this way, and she's been in prison, so it's like, she can't just like go get a job. I mean, she could probably, but like, it's not going to be as easy as just like any average person.
Right. Because I mean, growing up, she never, like, psychologically.
Yeah. So I don't disagree with the way that she's making money. I think that this path makes sense as far as a financial standpoint. Mm-hmm. What I have an issue with is the celebrity side of it mixed with her behavior already that I have seen
I just saw one
as
today.
a bystander of being out of prison. And again, I have never been in prison. I don't know what it's like to be in prison. I don't know how much she said in an interview that she felt more free in prison than she ever did before.
Well, based on what Mark was saying,
I'm sure that there is some validity. I'm sure that there's a lot of validity to that.
When Mark was on the podcast, he was talking about like they got up, they got to do a job or a program, they got to
watch Netflix, work out.
Like they were given a sense of freedom, which for somebody who had literally zero,
right.
That is more.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure that she started to come into who she is as a person.
Oh, I just had a thought.
And discover that. I have also seen that she's saying that she's going to therapy and she's going to, a psychiatrist on a regular basis, and she's working on herself. She is engaged and working on her relationship.
Great. Do you think that's court ordered? Like
what?
as part of the terms of her release?
What do you mean?
Like to get the therapy and stuff like that?
It might be, but even if it wasn't, I would hope that she would still do that.
Oh, absolutely. You would hope, but it makes you wonder.
So
I'm sure the information's out there, but we don't know.
Here's an example of why this is really pissing me off. There is a headline that I saw today about how Gypsy is just publicly saying how people are jealous of her boyfriend because of how good her boyfriend's D is.
I can't even. Sorry.
If there are children around, censor this. What the actual fuck?
Okay, so
what?
So that brings me to we've had this conversation.
It makes me want to. I want to scream. That really pisses me off.
The fact that she went through what she did, got out of prison, did all that, and her interviews, she has zero filter and is saying stuff like that, leads me to believe that there is definitely some psychological trauma that is causing her to not really fully grasp the intricacies of living in society. What's the word I'm looking for? There's some things you just don't need to say. It sounds like something a 15-year-old would say.
I think that there are going to be people who are listening to this and be like, who cares what she says? I think...
Because I don't care, except the fact that it's being put on a pedestal and dramatized and giving this celebrity status. That is the issue.
Yeah.
And you made a good point about
about what I said yesterday?
About her trauma and
I said yesterday that she's coming out of prison an instant celebrity, and let's remember here that when she was a child with her mother, she was already given so much free things. She was moved to the front of the line because she was in a wheelchair. She was what's the word that I'm looking for? She was given special treatment. Special treatment. Because
yes.
she appeared to be very sick.
Yes.
Which she thought she was. So
and to an extent she was, because her mom was literally injecting things into her feeding tube that were making her sick.
Yes. Yes. So anyway, she lived her whole life up until prison with special treatment.
A feeding tube she didn't need.
Okay.
Anyway. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I know. She was living her whole life up until prison with special treatment from society, not her mother. So, and then she goes to prison, and she, because of what she went through, has a different outlook on prison than I think most people who just commit a major crime who go to prison.
Literally murder is what she was in for. Conspiracy to commit murder.
And now I'm trying to circle back. And now she's coming out of prison.
With even more freedom. And more special treatment than she has ever been given by society than before. Instant fame, instant celebrity. People probably are calling off the hook to get her on a podcast and to pay her to do all these things. And
I said yesterday that I worry that all of this attention and all of this clout that is naturally going to happen to her, and it would happen to anybody even if they didn't have any psychological issues, is going to hinder her recovery and hinder her from finding out who she really is. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if we see, and this is important. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something negative that comes from Gypsy Rose down the line. And
Negative
I'm going to
in
go
what
ahead
way?
and just call it out. I don't really know. I don't want
It's hard to say.
I don't want to go that far into it because I don't wish any ill will on her.
we hope it doesn't
but like,
happen.
I think that this girl has a lot of mental and psychological and physical trauma that she has to work through, and everything that she's receiving from society is
hindering that.
not helping.
It's hindering that recovery.
Yeah.
Because she has a long road to recover that she is just, it's going to be a lifetime of recovering from this. And anything you put in the way that is going to, especially from a psychological standpoint, that is going to make her feel, because I'm literally trying to put myself in her shoes, which I realize is probably impossible. But if I was her, I would feel on top of the fucking world. Absolutely. And
I would feel so confident because everybody wants a little piece of me.
And I feel like what I was trying to say is
With
like
maybe a slight
psychologically
overwhelming.
You come out of prison and she was down. She was down at rock bottom, obviously, like the worst of the worst in situations. Prison was a step up in her life,
Yeah.
which is terrible.
Yeah.
And now
It's an unfortunate
she's
circumstance.
out of prison, which is a step up. And now she's celebrity status.
Yeah.
According to these podcasts. And I mean, there's a subset of people that are in agreement with us. We've already seen several things come out, which is why we decided to do this. But when you have trauma like that and you need to get past it and you need to work through it, and it's going to be a lifetime of work to manage that, putting yourself and being given all these like positive, like affirmations on overdrive, because the positivity is great. You need that.
Yeah.
But when you're put up in a situation where you're a hero, or
For conspiring to kill your mother.
who is
by the
abusing
way.
you, which is fine, but
It's not fine.
you straight up plan to murder somebody. You had the forethought to murder somebody.
We'll get into that.
Anyway, that is going to hinder her ability to actually recover.
Yeah, I feel like
distracting her.
it's putting like
A mask.
a false mask or piece of glass in front of what it's actually supposed to look like as a human living in society, and she's just seeing through these rose-colored lenses. Is that what is that the term?
Yes, she is being given a set of rose-colored glasses. It's not even that she put them on.
Yeah.
She's being given, and it's just filter after filter after filter to a point where she's gonna, because she was raised the way she was, psychologically thinking that she was sick, and having that outside influence hit her so hard. This new polar opposite outside influence is going to have the exact same effect.
I also saw, and again, this is hearsay because I have not done my deep due diligence research on this to see if it's factual or not, but it is something that I feel like I should mention. I also saw that like while she was in prison, and I'm sure it's even worse being out of prison because she's more accessible, that people were requesting pornography from her. People were requesting to like.
Didn't you just see a thing about that?
Yeah, like
now.
Yeah, like pictures of her, pornography of her, like, so I just.
Someone who.
It's just not even. I can't. I'm struggling. I can't wrap my head around it, and that is like.
I sincerely hope that she has such a good, solid team of people around her.
Yeah.
That are looking out for her best interest in a way that.
Because she's not going to be able to do that all of her own.
She is going to be able to be manipulated. And I hate to say it that way.
Well,
because
that's twofold. I think that she is going to be able to be easily manipulated, because there are things that she needs to acclimate to as a member of society. But also, I feel like this whole thing is a hot take, but this is even a bigger hot take. I also think that she herself is very capable of heavy manipulation of others.
Well, I just had this one thought, but like, because what you had said, we've had this conversation, like I said, her mother is probably one of the most manipulative people to have ever lived on this earth, based on what she did.
Yeah.
And I say that because of what she did. That is all she ever knew. That is all Gypsy ever knew for 13 years of her life. How old was she when she made the discovery that she was being abused like that, to that level?
So like her mother said that she was born in 1993, but she was actually born in 1991. So she thought that she was a few years younger than what she really was. So I think that she was like, I think she was between the ages of 19 and 22, 23.
When she finally decided to make this decision. Okay. So from the time she was born through her adolescent years, which is some of the most impactful developmental years of your life, to her young adult years, she was heavily manipulated by her mother. And that is all she ever knew, which means that is ingrained into her being.
Well, even like...
That is all she knew.
Well, let me just also say this, and again, I'm not trying to compare myself to her, but I'm trying to understand based off of my experience in my life. I remember things from my childhood that cause me daily anxiety, but I also think that like the brain does something really interesting with trauma, and either the trauma was so bad that your brain automatically suppresses it to protect you, or you remember it to protect you for future, reasons and things like that. But regardless of the two, I know that there are things that happened in my life that I don't remember that caused me trauma, and I don't know why because I don't remember it, but I do know that there's something about a situation that causes me anxiety and I need to work through it, and I don't know really how to work through it all the time because I don't know what the source is.
Right.
And if I have that issue, good Lord, that girl has that issue. And it's probably like tenfold amplified.
Like what we know because of the documentaries and stuff is probably a fraction of what she actually went through.
Yeah.
Which, again, that's awful.
Yeah. So let's talk about...
I have a thought.
Go ahead.
It just popped in my head. I keep forgetting to say this because it was on track with what I was about to say about the manipulation thing, and all she knew was what her mother did. I've never, because I refuse to do it, I don't want to watch any of these things, but I keep seeing little clips. One thing that I heard her say on a podcast or an interview or whatever it was, I am not my mother.
Yeah. And I don't want to be.
And I don't want to be. And I try every single day to not be. What I took from that, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm off base here. What I took from that is that you are recognizing that you have some of these thoughts and mindsets of your mother to the point that you have to try to not be your mother.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
And that could have been a statement that she said...
Obviously, I don't have context.
Without any, like, actual, like, meaning to it, just because, like, I haven't done an interview like that before. I can't, like, you probably say stuff that you don't actually fully understand that you're saying. You know what I mean?
Like, she's just making a point that says, I know how my mother was, and I'm trying not to be her. So because she understands that.
I think I'm going to play devil's advocate on that one. There's definitely, I think, some validity to what you're saying, but it could just be like an off statement that she said that.
Or, I mean, like,
or there could be some validity to it.
Or even it could be that, like she could just recognize that she doesn't want to be your mom and recognize how bad that was and knows that there is possibility to.
I think in general, she's like, yeah, I don't want to be like my mom. But like,
So I'm going to make a conscious decision not to be.
Right.
Every
but
day.
Does she actually struggle with it every day? That is interesting to know if that's a true statement or not, is basically what you're saying.
And I don't think anybody's ever going to know for certain except for her and her fiance and the people closest to her, because I don't even think she'll let that show when she's being interviewed and stuff.
Oh, absolutely not.
Rose-colored glasses, remember?
Yeah.
So not only that, you put on a mask and you only want to show the good stuff. You don't want...
Well, also, I just had this thought too, like, I wonder if she feels just as empowered and confident as what she's portraying to everybody. Like, how fragile is she right now? That is the scary part to me, because if she's coming off and she's being honest, as far as
we can't even say that.
I think that I would hope that she's being honest about, like, she's saying she's working on herself and it's a daily struggle and things like that. But then she's also saying things about, like, people are jealous of me because my boyfriend's dick is so amazing and large and blah, blah. Like, which one is it? Like, pick, like, you're portraying two different things here.
It could
are
be
you
a
confident?
coping mechanism.
Yeah, it totally could be. And that's kind of what I was getting to. Are you confident? And, like, are you feeling brave and free and confident? And like, actually, like, that's why you feel like you can say these kind of absurd things in tabloids and things like that? Or are you, like, crippling in silence and struggling and then just putting on an act to be famous?
Because the world has handed that to you on a silver platter.
Yeah. Like,
And
which one is it?
That's what I'm saying. I think that it's like, this is not going to be good.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I hate to say it because
either way, if she is feeling all this, like, confidence and she's feeling brave, I think that there's going to be a downfall. And if she's not, and it's just a mask and it's just like an act that she's putting on, that's worse, because then she's going to really struggle with recovery.
Or if that's the case, then she's not taking recovery seriously.
Or she can't because of I can't imagine what that girl's schedule looks like right now.
It goes back to what I said not long ago on this podcast. The fame that she has been handed is going to have a negative impact on her recovery that is going to take the rest of her life.
Yeah.
She needs to be left alone.
Yeah.
Let her tell her story. She told her story. Mm-hmm. Let her recover. She needs to freaking recover.
I think that just, like, the way that society is, people love to talk about it. People love to talk about hot topics and, like, new things. And also, society is just very curious. That's why people do daily vlogs. That's why TikTok is so big, is because people are just curious of, like, how others live their lives. And even on, like, a regular ass day to day, and then Gypsy Rose is just completely intriguing. Society is just curious. That's why social media is the way that it is.
Right.
So, that's why it's blown up the way that it has. But I think that a part of this issue that we need to talk about is, how do I start this part? So, this is the part where I think we need to be careful with how we phrase things, because
it could be taken the wrong way.
It could be taken the wrong way. So I think that this is what I said before, and I'm just going to say it, and, like, don't cancel me for this. Let me get through everything that I'm going to say. What I told, like, when this whole thing started, and I told Alex about it, and we were talking about it, I was like, if she had the mental capacity and the smartness and the braveness to get a cell phone, get a laptop, start a dating site, sneak out multiple times.
For what? Sneak out for what?
For her boyfriend. I think that she was probably capable of seeking help. Now, that's not to say that I do not understand. or I guess that's not to say, I understand the victim's mentality. I empathize with that. I know, like, especially in abusive situations, spousal situations,
you're afraid to run away.
typically, you know, a woman doesn't leave even though she's being beaten because she's too afraid. That is real.
Didn't she actually say that?
Yes, she did.
That she was afraid her mother was going to kill her.
Yeah. So that is 100% a real thing. And I understand that. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that doesn't mean anything. That means a lot. However, I also think, and this is I'm afraid to make this statement. This is an unpopular opinion in general. I always believe that there is a way out. No matter what situation you are in, there is always a way out. There's always a way to ask for help. There is always a way to seek out safety. There's always a way. She said in one of the podcasts that she said that she had run away multiple times. And one of the times she was gone for a total of 4 hours. And she got to the edge of her town and her mother found her, brought her back, chained her to her bed. And she was chained to her bed for like 2 weeks. And her mother didn't feed her. She had to like urinate on herself. And she said, after that, I was afraid to leave again because I thought that she would kill me. I can't imagine being in that situation. And everyone deals with things differently, and I get that. I think that, you know, I say this now, but again, I'm not in the situation and I probably never will be, thank God. But like, I would like to think that if I was in that situation, it would give me more like will to get out and to ask for help.
But see, that's not even the issue I have with it. It's the whole victim mentality of I was afraid that my mother was going to kill me if I left and she found me. However, where was that thought process when you were sneaking out to go have sex with your boyfriend in a movie theater bathroom?
Yeah.
You don't think your mom's going to find you there and also do the same thing? I mean,
I think that if
you can't have a victim mentality when it's convenient, but not when it's,
you know, I don't even know if she has a,
you know what I mean?
This is where my thoughts get really,
that's what I'm saying.
This is where my thoughts get foggy is like, does she have a victim's mentality because she's served her time? She's not saying she didn't do it, but like, also,
we're not saying victim mentality now. We're saying victim mentality
back then.
Back then, when it would have been an opportune time for her to get out, because she's already found a way out. She's already found, like, yeah, she ran away and her mom brought her back, chained her to her bed. She was afraid that her mother was going to kill her. Mm-hmm. But in the same breath, you can also say she got out, went and had sex with a boyfriend in a freaking bathroom, but you weren't afraid at that point that your mother was going to find you and kill you, but you were when you were ready to just leave, period.
Yeah.
That you can't, it's not a victim mentality. If this is going to get me canceled. I don't see it as a victim mentality when it's something you can pick and choose.
Yeah, I think I don't really understand, I guess, fully. And listen, maybe it's the ignorance in me because I haven't experienced anything like this before. This is just a conversation, guys. I don't fully understand how a person can have the ability and the mental capacity to sneak all of these things and run away and do all these things, but then feel so trapped that you have to boil it down to murder.
Here's a question.
That's the hot take here.
Do we know if the boyfriend at the time had any kind of influence on her decision to ask him to kill her? Like, in the times that they were like meeting up or talking back and forth constantly,
I don't know that
because he had multiple personality disorders, so he already had problems.
Yes, so I don't know that for sure. That might be something that's in the documentary. I wouldn't be surprised if he did have some sort of influence on it. But ultimately, it was her who asked him to do it. I do know that one of his multiple personalities was like a dark, like murdery guy. like he obviously was like,
Clearly.
he had like a dark side to him. And I think that his defense was that his personality is the one who did it. So,
Which isn't a defense.
it's an insanity plea.
But he's still in prison for the rest of his life.
Well, yeah, because he did it. So I wouldn't be surprised if, they also did like, oh God, this podcast is, they also did like BDSM and like things like that, which to each their own. But I know that their relationship was dark in general. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did have an influence on her, which doesn't excuse it.
Right.
But like also it's definitely something that should be noted.
It's just another negative mental struggle that she had to deal with. And it was between keep being abused or listen to this other guy that is the only other human being that I've had any kind of connection with.
Right. But also,
it's giving me a way out.
Flip side of that even, I mean, how much manipulation did she have on him to be able to get him to do that for her?
True.
Or was he more easily manipulated because of his multiple personality disorder? There's a lot of different components to this that makes it very hard to understand. And I think that boils down to why people are so intrigued.
Okay, here's another manipulation thought. I didn't know this until Mark told us this about prison. I did not know you had access, in a lot of cases, at least his case, to Netflix in prison. Which means, when Gypsy was in prison, was she watching true crime on Netflix and decided, you know what? I can make money on this because I have a story to tell. I'm going to start a documentary now while I'm in prison.
I'm sure
was that part of a manipulation tactic to get this clout because she sees it and is smart enough to know that when she gets out, it's only going to skyrocket?
Maybe, but I don't know if she would know that it would be as big as what it is. I don't think that anybody would know that it would be as big as it is.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that, but
it's a thought though. It's a thought that's worth having.
I just think that there is something negative coming along with her. Unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that she gets married and she lives her life and she, recovers mentally, physically.
And makes use of all this money coming in.
Yeah. Like I hope that, maybe she'll start a charity or she'll give back or, whatever the case might be. But right now I'm seeing her just be really icky online. Like just being aggressive and full of herself a little bit. I just, and
that TikTok you just saw about her like getting hacked and having a new account.
Yeah.
That was a very ick moment.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't want to dig into anything,
She's
but
acting
I'm
like,
seeing a lot of moments and they're all just cringy.
Her behavior is a behavior of a person who I would never believe that was even in prison. And that's what's kind of mind-boggling to me.
Well, you got to remember, you said it yourself, prison to her
was a different experience than most people.
Because she had more freedom in prison than she did when she was growing up.
Yeah.
With her mother. Mm-hmm. So it's a really convoluted, sticky situation, and it sucks for her. But she's out. She's making lots of money on these interviews. But I think this conversation all boils down to the fact that we need to stop calling her a celebrity. We need to stop feeding into this hero mentality and fame mentality. She knows her story's a hot sensational thing.
It's gonna
And
go
it's-
down in history.
And it is, but we need to stop feeding the beast.
So she also said something when someone asked her about her fame and being famous. She said, "I don't see myself as famous. I see myself as infamous," which
Is not good. That's Ted
I
Bundy
think that-
was infamous.
I know, and I think, and that came straight from her mouth because it gave me chills when I listened to her say that, because I don't know if she meant it the way that she like said it, because to me that means
I'm gonna do this again.
I'm not famous. I'm infamous for the things that I did. The thing that you did, girlfriend, is you committed murder. So, and again, this is me trying to play devil's advocate and trying to understand, did she mean I'm infamous for survival and surviving my situation? Because
but that wouldn't be infamous.
because there
that
is-
would not be infamous.
No,
that would
it
be
wouldn't.
famous for
Right.
surviving.
I don't know. I think that when she said that, I was like, oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes.
And that's exactly what we're getting at. Like, we need to stop feeding into this hero celebrity mentality.
Yeah.
Because she is, it sounds to me like, based on that kind of comment, is she doesn't know what to do with
The
it.
sad truth is that she's right.
Right. So stop the hero bullshit is what I'm saying.
Guys.
You know what one
The
rule?
world is so freaking weird. Like, the world is so weird. I think I often, like, I don't know if anybody else does this, but I often look at the world from my perspective and just try to put myself, like, in my, like, I am me, and I only know what I know in my small circle. And I know that the world is just so big and vast, and there's so many people and so many things. And I don't pretend to know it all, but like, I don't know where I was going with that. But like, I think that there's just so many things wrong with this.
Well, this is a kind of event session. Thank you for putting up with us if you're still here.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, hopefully that this doesn't,
This is keeping me up at night.
hopefully
to be
this
honest.
doesn't negatively affect her recovery in a bad way. Hopefully it levels back out sooner than later. Hopefully she doesn't let the hero celebrity status go to her head.
My circle came back with what I was doing with that statement.
Oh,
So
Came full circle.
I was saying that I often try to put myself like into like, I picture myself, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I wonder if she can do that. Like, can she just put herself in her own world, or is she just too caught up with like the masses?
I think that's
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think it's probably a sense of, in her own world, it was, I was abused for this part of my life. I conspired to kill my mother. I did prison time. That's her world.
I don't think that's how,
And
I don't think
now-
that's her world anymore.
And now she's getting everything she ever wanted.
I guess that's what I'm like I just don't know how she,
So she really, I mean,
I don't know.
she doesn't truly have a
Perspective.
situation where she has perspective of normalcy. Because she's
No.
literally never been in a situation that has been normal, ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some like hot button thoughts. I'm not going to say them, but like I have like predictions of things to come down the pipeline for her, and I it's not good. Like I just don't think that things are, I think that there's going to be like social issues that arise with her, headlines that are in negative light instead of all this positive light. I don't know, man. I think that she has a lot to work on, and I I'm glad you said what you said about I hope that she has a team of people in her corner looking out for her, that are going to prevent her from, allowing negative light on things. However, with that being said, the fact that there are headlines coming out with her talking about her boyfriend's penis, that shows me that maybe she doesn't have the best team right now. Just saying.
Well, hopefully everything is works out in the positive light.
Yeah.
Because we have seen pretty negative crap that becomes positive. Like, they turn into, like, bettering themselves. Like, the Catch Me Outside girl. She's a freaking millionaire.
Yeah. Well, she's a rapper.
And I think she has, like, a foundation or something now.
Yeah.
But great.
She's actually kind of dope, honestly.
But that was
Catch Me Outside, how about that?
Completely different situation. Because her mom was trying to help her.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was just some brain dump thoughts that we've just kind of been having. I'm probably going to make this a quote bonus episode, so it's not going to be like the weekly schedule.
Okay.
So it doesn't interrupt our normalcy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If you,
I don't know how to wrap this up.
I don't know how to wrap this up. If you hated this, that's fine. I'm sorry. At least you stuck with the whole thing if you're hearing this.
Yeah, just I really just had to brain dump, and I figured I'd brain dump to our friends. Hopefully you're still our friends. So
in just a couple of days we'll have another normal episode. So just focus on that.
Yeah. Anyway, I would love to know your thoughts. If you're on YouTube listening to this, watching this, put your thoughts in the comments. And you know what? It is okay to disagree with us.
Yes.
I think disagreements and
healthy debate,
difference of opinion is what makes the world go round. I love having conversation. So does Alex, but also we live our life on kindness, transparency, which is why I was like a little hesitant to talk about this, because truly we are pro-kindness and pro-freedom. And I think that our general morality is, I think, what has me so concerned for her. So anyway, if you disagree, that's totally fine. But just don't yell at us, please, because I'll block you.
We see the trauma that she went through and just want the best. I mean,
I truly do want the best for her.
She made a decision for whatever reason she made it. Mm-hmm. That was the decision she made. She did her time. Yeah. Now she's moving on. I think the current path that she is on is just a really sketchy one. And we're just seeing a lot of red flags.
Lots of red flags. So that's that. If you have thoughts, let us know.
Keep them kind.
If you're going to be aggressive about it, just keep it to yourself. But other than that, we would love to chat about it. It's obviously a hot button topic, so the more conversation, the better. And, we're not people who tend to be, super solid, stuck in our ways. So, we would love to have a conversation.
If you have a difference of opinion.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue to do my research about all of this. And I definitely am going to watch the documentary. So these are just the thoughts that I had with the knowledge that I have. So yeah, that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed, and
let us know what you think.
We will catch you on the next one. Peace.